let's get a little bit oriented. Brazil is a really, really large place. You can take the United States, including Alaska, and drop it in there with a little bit of room to spare. So, so you go to Brazil, okay, from Manaus, where we were, which, okay, laser pointers don't work on these things.
Yeah, I know.
It's retro, but it works. We are going to be starting out at the town of Manaus. And from Manaus, Rio is down here somewhere, and it's like a 5-hour flight. So Brazil is large. Here, a little bit different view. Thank you, Google Earth. This is the Rio Negro, and this is the town of Manaus. Let's see. Okay, zooming in a little bit closer, this is our itinerary. Okay, first of all, Rio Negro, black river, dark river. It's dark because of the tannins from the trees and the rotting material, and so the water is very dark. Actually, as it comes out of the faucet, it looks like tea. But that's what you shower in. It's drinkable, but I like bottled better. But it's the waters are dark. But if you notice where it joins up with the Amazon itself, there is you can see the two colors merging, and that is when you come in and you fly to Manaus, you can see that. But from Manaus, we then went up the river, and you can see the dates. We went up here, all the way up here, and then worked our way back. And this is the town of Manaus. You'll find the floor of their opera house, which is back here, kind of an Art Deco edifice built by the rudder. A wonderful boat, extremely comfortable, nice cabins. We're on the river, it's very calm. You don't get seasick on the river. And you can see, wonderful reflections we'll see some more of later. And this is our captain, Gilberto Castro. He has an academic background. He's extremely knowledgeable on not only all of the flora, but the fauna, the birds of this entire area. He bought this boat, and he runs tours. And these are, they call them canoes. They're motorized. And that's what you do in the river, because the otter has to, of course, stick out in deeper water. And by deeper water is the river at the time that we were taking this tour was at flood stage, about 30 feet of flood water. So you'll see that when you see bushes, those are the tops of trees. But what that does is it puts us at eye level to the orchids. Otherwise, you're with binoculars. So we get up, right close and personal. But just remember that you're sitting on top of three stories of water down to its low point. And this is the river. As you'll see from here, we'll take a ride in a moment, but see if you can figure out where what part is air and what part is reflection. The water is like a mirror. So this is above the water, this is a reflection. Water is like glass.
How deep is the water there?
Well, we're 30 feet of flood, plus whatever it is normally. But this is the time. About 6 months of the year, it's flooded. And then the boat can't get up the river because it starts to get too shallow. up in the tops of the trees. Scudacaria stelii has a very terete leaf, so you know this thing grows in high sun. The temperatures, the days were probably close to 90. The night never went below 72. So it's warm, it's tropical.
And humid?
And humid. The mornings were nice. You know, it was actually quite pleasant. Get around midday, it's warm. But then, you know, we go out again toward the evening, and the boat was air conditioned.
Oh, nice.
It was very nice. This I believe it's in the Zygo group. And you can see the way the flowers grow. There had a guy on the front of the boat with a machete to chop our way. You'll see some places we chop a way through, but he also could reach out and show us how the flowers grow. This is another one, the Galleandra devoniana. It's a warm grower. Okay, most of what we saw on this trip, I'm not going to grow, and you're probably not going to grow either, because it's warm. Even with a greenhouse, it's pretty hard to maintain that level of heat and humidity. So you just take it and enjoy it. But this Galleandra is just a beautiful, beautiful flower. This part, and if you notice, I associate it as being kind of like a phayas, as a terrestrial. Well, anything around here that's terrestrial is going to be drowned. So even orchids that normally in a different environment would be terrestrial, they're up in the canopy, because again, we're 30 feet up, but this part, the plant is actually down into the water. And it kind of nods over, but the reflection gives you a chance to look at this beautiful, beautiful flower.
How many months of the year is that flooded?
About 6 or 7. The Amazon produces, this is just a tributary to the Amazon. The Amazon produces a lot of water. Enough water so that 50 miles out from the coast, there's still fresh water. Enormous volume. And of course, you can't even see across it near the mouth. And you can't stop taking pictures. But again, you can see here, and we're going to see it in another place where it actually grows shadier, a little different environment. But this is really bright. I mean, there's no shade here at all. And we have a Schomburgkia. We managed to find one that wasn't eaten, because there was another one that was pretty well eaten. But we're out with those boats and birds. The caracara is I think is a bird of prey, and this one is just pretty. And butterflies. Okay, you will see some places. My traveling friend Bernie Mazer has this camera with a lens that needs a Sherpa to carry it. I, on the other hand, had my little Panasonic with a 30 times zoom. So anything that doesn't have her name on it, I took. So not too horrible. I got those, but she got better ones. And those parrots are very noisy. And because it's really happiest for 12 hours a day, which during the winter we don't get without giving the Edison company a little bit of an extra spiff. There's another species of carpmanons have enough pixels to get a recognizable picture. There's a little sloth moving slowly up at the top of a tree, munching on leaves. And then they're going pretty slowly because there's these enormous roots hanging down from the trees. They're philodendrons mostly. And so they'll kind of have to whack their way. There's a Schomburgkia, with a spent spike. So this is the plant.
Yeah.
And those philodendron roots are from way up in the trees and down into the water. And that's what we're hacking her through. You know, Tarzan was not around, but you could imagine him swinging. Epinocturnum is interesting because it has a huge range. It comes from higher elevations as well, because I can grow Epinocturnum in my backyard. I guarantee that my backyard does not range between 72 degrees and 90 degrees all year round. So there are different populations. I strongly suspect that while they look the same, that if you were to take one of these, adapting it to your backyard probably wouldn't work. But it comes from a very, very wide territorial range up into the Andes. But we saw lots of them, and you'll see various forms. You see different leaf or flower petal shapes, different coloration, but they're just all over the place. Octomeria is a very cute species. The flowers pop out from somewhere like on the middle of the, I don't know if it's the leaf or the pseudobulb. I've got a different species of Octomeria, which again I can grow, but look at how many of them are on that tree. Colinstinia is, again, it's in the zygo group. Little tiny flower, about like this. I managed to get a decent picture because one got picked to take back to the boat to do the identification, and orchids in the wild don't have tags. So every night all of us would be sitting around these books. When we had a reference book on the boat that was very specific to the Amazonas province of Brazil, and most of the time you get a match. There's some that if it says CF, that means similar to, because we tried, but okay. Prostechia vespa is another one with a very wide range. I saw this in Ecuador at various elevations. So obviously that has some forms that will survive cooler. This is a warm one. You get a little bit of color variation. Look, here's a really dark one. And this one is almost an alba. And beautiful bromelias. I have to throw in a few non-orchids. And this moonflower cactus, really interesting. Can you see how those leaves kind of fold around the tree? This cactus blooms very rarely, and it opens just after dusk, and by dawn it's done. It's a one and done, and it doesn't do it very often. Interesting story, and Gilberto was friends with a lady by the name of Margaret Mee, M-E-E, the British botanical illustrator. And she made multiple trips to this area. She wanted to draw, she wanted to paint, this moonflower. And there were incredible logistics. Apparently it was one of her last trips that she took anywhere. And she stayed in Gilberto's little cabin by the river. And they were watching this plant and watching it for, is it gonna bloom? When's it gonna bloom? Which means you have to, because you have to be there the night that it blooms, which means you go on a trip, you're someplace, how do you time it? Well, she finally did, and that was a photograph, so that was not my photograph. It's from the web. Anything that's not my photographs, I do give credit. But this photographer by the name,
I met Margaret Mee on one of my trips to Brazil, and I have a couple of her paintings that she signed for me.
Oh, wow.
They're very special.
Yeah, she seemed to have been a very special lady. At the end, I found a website where there's video of that last trip that she took that we also saw while we were on the boat. And then when everything, the colors, it's all green and brown, and then you see spots like that, Sobralia. Brilliant, and different flowers. The flowers don't last long, but it just keeps popping them out. And we have another species, pale, Macrophylla. So you did get to see orchids. This is not a small plant. This will not fit in my greenhouse. It's Areopsis septrum. You see, there's just like one spike and that a little bit close up. Because they're very attractive flowers, but there's flowers, there's flowers, there's flowers, there's flowers. I mean, this is a big plant. And it's a genus that I was completely unfamiliar with. I picked up, there's a few genera that I had never heard of before. But a bunch of maxillarias. There's some variety there. These little white ones are very crystalline. This one was interesting. The Maxillaria incata is very succulent. So you almost can't see the pseudobulbs, but the leaves are flowers. So you have these very succulent leaves, and then every now and then you catch a little flower in the act. The Stelis argentata, because I saw that in Ecuador as well. And this is a big old healthy pleurothallus. And a little one. Okay, now the Grobii is a Grobii type. Apparently it's a cluster of species because they're all over the place and they make lots of little flowers, and here you've got a whole tree full of them. This Chrysotella triglocon is another one with a wide range, and they're just cute, especially to get some color. The flower on that is about this big. But as you can tell, we're right up close and personal with these. It's like, like I'm here, the flower is there. And some wildlife. Those ants are hanging on for dear life. The branch, they probably were on the branch, and the branch probably broke off because, unless they can swim, they're going to have to wait until that hits something else to.
They look like lobsters.
How big are they?
They're not small.
It looks big.
One of the interesting things about the Rio Negro, that tanning, that heavy tannin water, Brazil, you think skeeters, and very few insects. So we saw bats. What do they eat? Fruit bats. Because there's really, there's insects, but compared to to be able to support a bat population, there's not that many. Again, the larvae just don't survive in those waters with all the tannins. But not having mosquitoes, I didn't, I still brought my DEET and all of that because, Peter Tobias said, no mosquitoes. And I didn't quite believe him. I figured I'd better, I'd better be prepared. I'll take it home if I don't need it. And I didn't, they're sort of fluffy. In fact, there's a hawk that made a nest out of it.
They have that tree at the South Coast Botanic Gardens. And it's all white when it's in bloom.
Yeah, they're big flowers, and then you end up with these fruits. And just a few more flowers. That's my lap. We know who that guy is. It's Peter Tobias.
You're still seeing people.
Yeah, they're very, they know where handouts come from. Unlike the howler monkeys, these guys are very. And there's lots of. There's a little octomeria that we think we have an idea on. You can see how you get these long roots,
Yeah.
like probably a fig of some sort.
Oh, they go.
You see the iguana? Talk about camouflage.
Yeah.
There it is. Look a little closer. That's another one where, the guide's pointing, where? But it's really, well camouflaged, but at least that one sat still. Talk about long tail.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the rest. And we went down another little channel. So Insidium Civilata, which we had not seen before. And then, again, we're, like about from here to there. I
Yeah.
don't know what kind of a snake it is. Oleander devoniana in full sun. Okay, this is in deep shade, a little bit paler, but it's still very much there. An epinecturnum. They don't jump out at you, but just all over the place. Mimosas are cool. I don't know if you see a mimosa, if you touch the leaf, they're sensitive. They'll close up. So that's a big mimosa, and some more Sobralias. We think that there might be a different species, but similar color to Cecilus. And this was we finally got a Catalina violacea in bloom. We had seen some unbloomed ones, and of course they don't stay in bloom. So like the week before, oh well, it was in bloom, but there we've got one. And so someone at the back of the boat passed their phone forward.
It's very different than what we usually see. The petals are so much more
Right.
narrow, it seems.
Yeah, well, it's it lives a hard life.
Yeah.
And of course, violacea, actually, you don't see that much because it is a very warm grower. It's, even standard greenhouse temperatures aren't enough. It likes warm and humid. So it's a tricky one to grow around here. But we got up close and personal. We've got some buds. And seed capsules, so there's going to be more of them. And then we head back where we did finally get to see our Margaret Bee and the Amazon Moonflower, or the Amazon Journey. Those are on the website. It says Toni Morrison and None Such Expeditions has videos, and most interesting.